Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about the deal. Biden and McCarthy apparently have a deal. So, we're going to talk about what we know. The questions that have come in have basically been who won the negotiations? It's a negotiation. Nobody won the negotiation. More importantly, at time of filming, which is last night, we don't actually know. We have to wait and see the legislation. We actually have to see the text of the bill on some of it. But if you're going by the talking points memos that went out, if you're going by the leaks, the reactions to the deal by people in Congress, it seems as though Biden got the better of McCarthy. You have to remember the Republican Party, they put out all kinds of promises that for months we've been saying there's no way that they'll be able to actually get what they're saying. Big surprise, that return to the fiscal year 2022 part, that's not in there. The massive cuts really aren't in there. The Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act, the infrastructure, all of that stuff looks like it's untouched. So all of that's a win. Now you have one Republican representative who is super mad because McCarthy was able to get the IRS's budget reduced, but it looks like it's going down, according to the representative, by $1.9 billion. Keep in mind, we're talking about out of 80, not exactly slashing it. Now, the interesting part that we're really going to have to pay attention to is what's going on with SNAP, the food stamp program. Because it looks like it was both expanded in some ways, but they're adding work requirements, which is, they don't work, just so you know. So the expansion part sounds good. The work requirements, of course, do not. The Republicans pushed for the work requirements. It was a big deal for them. But to see the real effects of it, we're going to have to wait and actually see the bill. And then you have some changes to temporary assistance for needy families. Again, for that, we're going to have to wait until we actually see the text. But at the end of it, it looks like the Republicans got their two core values fulfilled. A cut to the IRS so they can help wealthy people cheat on their taxes, and, punish people who need social safety nets. That's the Republican Party today. That appears to be it. There are some caps that have been mentioned, but as we've talked about before, the caps, they're not real. They're more guidelines than anything. A future Congress can decide otherwise. The other part about this that's interesting is the stuff with SNAP and the other program. They appear to have sunsets, which means they go into effect, like they're phased in over a period of time, and then they cease to be a law. And it looks like it's like 5 years from now. So any deficit reduction the Republicans were hoping to get out of it, that doesn't seem to be likely either. But for the parts that matter to most people watching this channel, how it's going to hit people on the bottom, we're going to have to wait to see the bill. As far as knowing who won, I think the easiest way to gauge that is to see how many votes McCarthy needs to pass his own budget. Because I got a feeling the Democratic Party is going to have to come across and help him pass it. there were a number of Republicans who said, I will not vote for a budget or a debt ceiling increase that doesn't have X. Okay? Those X's, they're not in there. The hardliners definitely did not get what they wanted. That much is very clear from all of the memos and reactions. The people who really wanted to go after the IRS doesn't look like they're getting what they wanted either. These were all promises that Republican representatives made to their constituents. So in order to pass this, McCarthy is probably going to need members of the Democratic Party to vote for it. If you want to know how bad it is for McCarthy, how bad it is for the Republicans, we need to wait and see how many Republicans refuse to vote for their own budget. But as far as the tangible effects, the stuff that people were really, really worried about, as far as them going after the Inflation Reduction Act or the infrastructure bill or any of that stuff, none of that appears to be in it. The really deep cut going back to fiscal year 2022 doesn't look like it's in it. The stuff with the work requirements to me is concerning, but I want to wait and see the bill because there are different, I don't want to say they're leaks because they knew this stuff was going to come out, but there are people talking about how in some ways the exemptions were expanded, but there's more work requirements. I want to see the fine print on this before I decide, how bad it is, because I don't want to say, Biden totally, just ran roughshod over McCarthy and then find out that McCarthy got his way when it came to SNAP. But it's those two social safety nets seem to be the only things that are really in jeopardy. There's an IRS cut, but it's not big. So at this point, I'm going to say that Biden got the better of him. But at the same time, I want to wait and see the actual bill. But your real gauge at the end of this is how much help the Republican Speaker of the House needs from the Democratic Party to get his bill through. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.